All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to spend the next 5 minutes unpacking the core ideas from a book that claims to have the answer to our sugar cravings. This is our quick dive explainer on the sugar-savvy solution.
So here's the plan. We're going to break down the book's main argument. Why it's so hard to quit sugar. Then we'll look at the actual solution it offers, and finally, we'll get into the big philosophy that ties it all together. Let's just start with the question that I think pretty much everyone has asked themselves, probably while looking at an empty bag of chips or something. Can't eat just one. The book really uses this single, super relatable problem to frame its entire case. To really get a sense of just how big this issue is, the book hits you with this wild number, 156 pounds. Now, get this, that's how much added sugar the average person supposedly eats every single year. We're not talking about sugar and fruit, we're talking about the stuff pumped into everything from pasta sauce to bread. So, how in the world did we get here? Well, the book's first big move is to point out what it calls the hidden enemy. The argument is that we've all been fighting the wrong battle. The real issue isn't just that sugar is a treat, it's that it's an addictive substance.
And this is where things get really interesting. The book totally flips the script. Its whole premise is that cravings and overeating aren't some kind of moral failure or a lack of willpower. Nope, it's a scientific thing, rooted deep in our brain chemistry.
And this quote right here, this is the heart of that scientific argument. According to the book, eating a lot of sugar literally changes your brain. It messes with your brain's reward system, firing up the same pleasure centers that things like drugs do, which just creates this vicious cycle of cravings.
But wait, it goes even deeper. The book claims this isn't some accident. It argues that the processed food industry knows exactly what it's doing. They design food to hit what's called a bliss point. This perfect storm of sugar, salt, and fat that's literally engineered to make you ignore your body's I'm full signals so you just keep eating.
So, if that's the problem, who's the person offering a way out? Well, the author is Kathie Dolgin, and she goes by the nickname High Voltage. Her whole point of view comes from a place of having been through it all herself.
Her personal story is actually a huge part of the book's power. She isn't writing this as some researcher in a lab, she's been in the trenches. She talks about how she realized her food issues were an addiction, just like her struggles with alcohol and drugs. That realization is what led her to create this whole program based on what actually worked for her.
And she makes it really clear that she's not just jumping on some new wellness trend. With this quote, she's basically saying, hey, I was sounding the alarm on this stuff for years, long before anyone else was talking about it. Okay, so let's get to the good part, the solution. The book lays out its program not as just another diet you're going to quit in a few weeks, but as a total blueprint for changing your entire relationship with food. It's really broken down into two main parts that work together. On one side, you've got the mindset, which is called the STAR philosophy. And on the other, you've got the action, the practical 6-week action plan that helps you put that philosophy to work. And the STAR philosophy is built on these 5 things. What's so cool here is how holistic it is, right? It's not just about what you eat, it's about hydration, moving your body, and your mental game with things like affirmations and gratitude.
And just to give you a taste of the author's, let's call it a direct style, she uses these really memorable acronyms. This is one of my favorites, CRAP, which stands for Calories Robbed at Processing. That's her term for all the processed, junky foods she says you should cut out.
All right, but does any of this actually work? A plan is one thing, but results are another. The book makes its case by sharing testimonials from a test group they called the Sugar Savvy Sisters. Now listen closely to this one, because the most important part isn't just the weight loss. It's that last sentence, I've changed what I want. That right there is the whole goal of the program. Not just forcing yourself to change, but actually changing your desires from the inside. And it's not just about what the scale says either. The book is full of stories about other health wins, things like more energy, less inflammation, and even improvements in chronic pain. It really tries to show the program's impact on your whole life. So what does that look like when you add it all up? Well, the book shares the numbers from that first test group. You had 17 women who lost a combined total of almost 170 pounds and over 90 inches. Pretty impressive. Okay, this all brings us to what is, without a doubt, the single biggest idea in the entire book. Seriously, if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. The entire program is built on this one powerful idea, that real, lasting change never comes from depriving yourself. It's not about gritting your teeth and fighting your cravings. The only way it sticks, the book argues, is if you fundamentally transform what you want in the first place. And this quote, this is basically the entire book in a nutshell. It's the motto for the whole thing. The goal isn't to say no to foods you love. The goal is to rewire your brain and your taste buds so you actually start wanting healthier foods more.
So, we'll leave you with the big question the book poses. It really challenges everything we've been told about diet and self-control. It asks us to think, what if the key isn't trying harder or having more willpower? What if the answer is a total rewire of what we want from the inside out?